Today, I'm cooking up an entire dinner menu from Better Homes and Gardens Cooking for Two. I've gotten a few requests lately to do more small batch recipes. Truthfully, most of the recipes I do are small batch because I cut so many of them in half. But living in a small household the way that I do, I'm always happy to put together a two-person menu when I can. I've cooked from this book a few times before. I think I made the bacon big boys from this book. My sandwich video, that also came from this book. So I'm looking forward to exploring a few more of the recipes. Now, usually when I do a full dinner menu, I like to cook it straight through in one go. But today, I actually have something smack in the middle of the day that I have to do. And I was like, gosh, I really want to get this filmed, but how am I going to do that? And then I looked at the recipes I chose and I realized, not only is this a dinner for two menu, this is mostly a make-ahead menu. So I can prepare a couple of the dishes ahead of time and finish them off later in the day, and it doesn't impact, that middle part where I'm not going to be around to cook. So you kind of get a bonus subject here. Not only is it cooking for two, it's make-ahead dishes. Today's menu is going to consist of 3 dishes. I'm going to start with the marinated green beans. Well, okay, confession time. I actually already made these marinated green beans, mostly because, as you can see, they need to chill for 3 to 4 hours. So I did this first thing this morning. This marinated green bean recipe looked kind of interesting to me. I'm not usually into like a cold green bean kind of salad, but I really liked the idea of the dressing on this. It's just sour cream and Italian dressing mixed together. Not a combination I've really thought a lot about, but I was intrigued, so that's why I chose it. Now, I was supposed to use canned green beans for this. I have French-style frozen green beans here. I just thought, it's almost like shredded green beans. It kind of made me think more of a salad. Plus, I ran out of canned green beans when I made a green bean casserole for my casserole video a few videos back. I thought I had more in my pantry. I did not. We're gonna improvise with these frozen green beans. I didn't want to make a special trip to the store. Who wants to do that? So I just cooked my French-style frozen green beans according to package directions. And then I drained them and set them aside, let them cool a little bit. Next, I mixed up my dressing. And that consists of 1/4 cup of dairy sour cream and 2 tablespoons of bottled Italian dressing. I just used like the most general Italian dressing you can buy at the grocery store. It's just in my fridge. So I whisked that together and set it aside. To that, I added a diced tomato. It says peeled, diced, and drained. I didn't peel it. I did dice it and drain it a little bit. And I seasoned it with just a little bit of salt and 2 tablespoons of finely chopped onion. I had some scallions to use up. I kind of thought they would be good in this salad. I diced them very fine, and I also wanted to use them. We're very much about using the things that we have right now. And finally, I added my cooled cooked green beans. I mixed all of that together, covered it up, and now it's waiting for me in the fridge whenever I'm ready to eat it. So that's nice. I think it's a good make-ahead recipe. We don't know how it tastes. We'll find out later. But for now, I'm gonna move on to assembling my meat mixture for my pizza burgers. I've assembled all of my ingredients here, all of the ingredients for the meat mixture, that is. There are a couple of other things that come in later. So this recipe starts with 8 ounces of ground beef. This is 85/15 because it's what my store had. Combine meat with next 6 ingredients. Those next 6 ingredients, we have 2 tablespoons of finely grated Parmesan cheese, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped onion. Controversial ingredient time. Not for me, I love them. Of course, I do. We have 2 tablespoons of finely chopped black olives. I'm excited about this because I love olives, but I really love olives on pizza. And this is a pizza burger. Couple of seasonings. We have 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. We're getting more and more pizza by the second. So this next ingredient is not included in the ingredients list. It is included in the recipe. It's a dash of pepper. Finally, I have 1/4 cup of ketchup. Ketchup, indeed. I mean, I may have gone tomato sauce, but we're gonna try it with the ketchup. It's probably fine. I think maybe this is going to make it taste a little more meatloafy. I don't know, we'll see. I'm going to do a quick hand wash and come right back because I am gonna mix this with my hands. All right, here we are. Mix, mix, mix. Now, I thought I was going to be forming these into patties. I am not. You spread these on toasted bread or toasted buns before you bake them. So it's even a little bit different than I originally anticipated. Ooh, that's smelling ketchup-y. It's smelling very ketchup-y. I almost wonder also if letting this mixture sit for a little bit is going to benefit it, you know? There's no breadcrumbs or anything in here, like you would with a meatloaf, but we do have that like Parmesan cheese. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll give a little bit more time for the flavors to get to know one another before I broil these. I think that looks pretty good. I think so anyway. I'm gonna do another hand wash. That's about as far as I'm gonna go right now. I'm just gonna cover this and I'm gonna let this stay in the fridge until I'm ready to use it in a few hours. It's what, right around 3 hours later, and I am ready to pick up where I left off with this meal. So as you can see, I have toasted a burger bun for my pizza burger. And let's check in with our green beans. This is what they're looking like. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna reserve judgment until I actually taste them. Right, I've assembled the rest of what I need for these pizza burgers. Got my toasted bun here. I've got some cheese and tomatoes. You know, it's like a showstopper on this page, what they've done here. I'm supposed to use like cherry tomatoes. I had like a regular tomato, so I'm gonna use that. It's pretty small anyway. They put an olive on there, so there's like a golden like steer head. It took me a while to notice that, but right there, like it's a little pick with a steer. I don't know. I don't have one of those, sorry to disappoint you. But we're gonna try to do this. I've patted my meat mixture down so that I can divide it. I'm only gonna make one of these right now. Just me at the moment. Spread mixture on the toasted bread or bun. Broil 5 inches from heat for 8 minutes until done. Okay. I'm like, can't we just do a patty? Okay. I think what I want to do, like originally I was going to do this as a burger. I'm picking it up. I'm just doing it. I might need to, if I'm like spreading it on the bread to do this, I might need to spread it across like two bun halves. I don't know. This recipe got weird. I probably should have just gotten like regular bread to do this with, but here we are now and I have buns. We're spreading it. I mean, if this turns out, I'll be real excited about it. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Because I'm afraid if I spread all of it onto one side of the bun, it's not gonna cook properly. One moment, we're washing the hands again. So I'm gonna transfer this. Yes, I'm gonna try to broil it. I have a broiler setting on my toaster oven, so we're gonna try it in there. I just love my toaster oven. So I have to broil this for approximately 8 minutes. I'm gonna check the temperature and make sure it's okay. But then I need to add cheese and I need to like broil it again. So we'll see. While my pizza burgers are broiling away, I am gonna try to put together the sauce for this peanut butter parfait. And this dessert involves ice cream, so I'm probably not gonna really like assemble this until after I try the other dishes. Combine brown sugar, milk, corn syrup, and butter. So we've got brown sugar, milk. Where did my corn syrup go? Oh, it's over here. I was like, I know I got it. Corn syrup. I did spray this measuring cup with a little vegetable spray so that the corn syrup would come out. Much easier. And then my butter. Cook and stir over medium heat until the sugar dissolves and the butter melts. All right. This feels like the beginnings of scotcheroos almost, except I don't think scotcheroos, actually I know my scotcheroo recipe does not have brown sugar. All right, I have a spoon rest here. I am gonna need this whisk. It says a rotary beater. We'll see if we can do it with a whisk. I don't know. What was I thinking with this? We'll find out. Okay, that really didn't take very long. Just a couple of minutes. Sugar is dissolved, butter is melted. It says to turn the heat off. Add peanut butter and beat smooth with a rotary beater. Or in my case, a whisk. We're gonna try a whisk. We're just gonna try it. I don't wanna get my hand mixer out. Peanut butter. So scotcheroos have corn syrup and peanut butter. So that's what this is kind of making me think of. Beat that smooth. And then I actually have to let this cool a little bit before I can even think of assembling my parfaits. Because, you know, you don't want to melt your ice cream, do you? Okay. Don't go by the time listed in the recipe for these because it's going to vary depending on your broiler. I added like 5 extra minutes to these before they were really like mostly done. I have to broil them again. So they're gonna go back in for like a minute or two just to melt the cheese. Yeah, I'm thinking this would be a little bit easier to manage if I just made patties and like fried them up in a skillet or grill or whatever. If I do it like this again, where I'm spreading it on something, I would probably use like a big slice of bread. It said you could use bread or buns, you know, in the recipe. I don't know exactly why it had me cut this into strips, but I did it just for the visual effect. That's what we're doing. It's like put the cheese on and the tomatoes. So I'm just gonna put like one little thin tomato slice on each one of these. And then I'm gonna pop them back in the broiler. Here's what they're looking like. You know, the one in the book, more attractive, but that's okay. Now it's just time to assemble my plate so I can give everything a taste. That's not a bad looking dinner plate. As I said, I'm gonna assemble my peanut butter parfait a little bit separately because it involves ice cream. So I don't wanna like make it and then film it and melt it and all that. Yes, you understand, you understand. I'm gonna start with these green beans because I am so curious about them. Just make sure I get some tomato in there. My apologies. If you hear background noise, the lawn service has just arrived. I don't know when they're gonna come. I'm very thankful to have them though. So we're just gonna put up with the background noise, okay? I really like the dressing on these. I've never thought of putting sour cream and Italian dressing together, but it makes sense because I did love creamy Italian dressing when I was a kid. That was like, before I discovered ranch, it was creamy Italian all the way. And I kind of like the freshness of the green beans, and then the tomato is very sneaky and comes in with like a tangy flavor that like complements the vinegariness of that Italian dressing. Better than I thought it would be. I did end up salting the green beans a little bit because canned green beans are usually saltier than like cooked frozen green beans. I actually really enjoy the texture of the French style beans though in a salad. That was a surprising one. Sometimes I choose recipes I'm not quite sure about, and this was one of those, but I do like it. All right, so that brings us to the pizza burger for two. This is actually just one serving of the pizza burger. I have another one, like another portion of the meat I'm probably gonna have for lunch tomorrow. If you're gonna like make these as directed in the recipe where you're gonna broil them, go by your broiler, like don't stick to their timeline. I wanna make sure that you get it cooked enough to eat it safely. They say like 8 minutes, 5 inches away from the broiler. You know, your broiler is gonna vary. All right, I guess I just picked this up. It's kind of an open-faced situation. Well, I'm gonna take another bite, one moment. I had to get a little more into it. I wasn't getting a ton of pizza flavor when I first took a bite, but I'm getting it now. I'm getting like the oregano and everything. The ketchup is very sweet. If you like a sweeter sauce on your pizza, that might be the way to go. I personally think I would use plain tomato sauce, or even, you know, why not use pizza sauce in this to mix into the meat instead of the ketchup. I don't hate it though. It's pretty good. It's like a little bit of like almost a pizza sloppy joe with less of the sloppiness. Or maybe like a pizza meatloaf. The meat mixture is like not super compacted because, you know, you add liquid to it and things like that. But it tastes really good. I think I would want to add a little more oregano. Like I like a little bit more of a heavily seasoned sort of pizza flavor. But really, I think they are kind of good. I would not fuss over like the strips of cheese or like however they did it. I would just make them as patties and I would cook them, then put my cheese on. I wouldn't fuss over it too much. But you know, I had to do something for the thumbnail. Yes, I will come back to this, but I gotta get my peanut butter parfait put together. Well, I don't have very distinct layers here, you know? I thought that the sauce was gonna be a little bit thicker than it is, and I think that kind of like would have helped to make those distinct layers because it kind of flows down into the crevices and everything. I also don't have super tall parfait glasses. I don't even know that I would want super tall parfait glasses for this because that would be like a really big ice cream dessert. I don't know. But anyway, I sprinkled some peanuts on top as directed in the recipe. You could do peanuts or peanut brittle. I had peanuts. So I'm gonna attempt here. It's melting fast. I don't know why I decided to do an ice cream dessert, but I'm gonna attempt to get a bite of everything. The sauce is almost like a peanut butter caramel sauce. Is that a thing that exists? It's very sweet. It has like a hint of peanut butter. I almost want a little bit more of that peanut butter flavor. It tastes really good. It's very sweet. I mean, hello, it's a dessert. I would add more peanut butter because I'm getting more of a like brown sugar caramely flavor with just like a little whisper of peanut butter, but I want it to be more peanut buttery. Still delicious though. I mean, it is ice cream. Better Homes and Gardens Cooking for Two was published in 1968. I've cooked from this book before. I made Bacon Big Boys early on in my channel. Those were really delicious, by the way. I've made those more than one, like multiple times. And then I also did a sandwich video featuring this cookbook, mostly because I wanted to make sandwiches in smaller quantities. I feel like whenever I see sandwich recipes in a lot of my vintage cookbooks, it's like, makes 12. I don't need to make 12 sandwiches, folks. So it says menus and recipes for every occasion. I've received some comments lately requesting some more small batch recipes. By the time this video comes out, I will put together a small batch, like cooking for two or small batch recipe playlist. I love a Better Homes and Gardens cookbook. I always say it. They have very good photographs and they have very good like tablescapes, including this one. Look at that. My goodness. Breaking out the fine china. And I think especially in the 60s, like during that decade, these cookbooks really do kind of pull out all the stops when it comes to food styling and things like that. So this book is mostly full of recipes that make 2 servings of things. We do have a few recipes that make more. The peanut butter parfaits, the sauce actually made 4 servings, so I did cut that one in half. It's funny, sometimes in these like cooking for two cookbooks, they're like, here's a buffet chapter, or here's what to make when you have company coming over. I almost feel like it's so that they can avoid having to come up with that many recipes just for 2 people. I feel like I need to show you the Bacon Big Boy since that's the first time that I cooked from this book on this channel. Ah yes, page 54, that is a Bacon Big Boy. So it says French rolls. I think when I made this, I used brioche hot dog buns. So it's those with like a split hot dog in the middle with some prepared mustard, sharp cheddar cheese, and then you wrap the whole thing in bacon and you bake it or broil it, perhaps. You bake it. I think I ended up having to bake it longer. It was delicious. Yes, I have made these. I made them for a party, actually, I think. It wasn't like a huge party, it was a small gathering, but like I made some, like a platter of them, and then I cut them in half so people didn't have to have a whole one, but they were a big hit. I mean, how could they not be, right? The first chapter is called Frankly Fancy Just for Two. So these are your fancy, fancy dishes. Grasshopper pie, Cornish game hens. We've got buttered Brussels sprouts. What a menu. What a menu. This is curried orange chicken, and it certainly is orange. So this one's pecan chicken a la king, and you eat it over waffles. Maybe I'd try it. I'd try it. There is a recipe for 1 large waffle. So my waffle maker, it's a Belgian waffle maker, so it wouldn't exactly work the same way. But if you have one of the waffle makers with like 4 square sections, this recipe, this waffle recipe, makes one of those, which is kind of perfect. Remembered recipes tailored for 2. Yes, you can cook for just 2 and still prepare all those wonderful dishes that stand out in your memory. So nostalgia, even back then, I guess. This dish I just showed you is oven Swiss steak. Okay, it looks pretty good, actually. Ooh, yes, look how pretty this is. I love this particular photo. I think it really stands out. And that was spring rhubarb cobbler. Yes, no wonder it's so pretty. I love rhubarb. I think one of the things I enjoy most about cookbooks for just 2 people, it's the desserts. You know, I mean, a lot of the recipes are good, but having small batch desserts is really something. A lot of times you end up having to bake a lot of cookies or an entire pie or whatever. Having something that you can just make a little bit of is really welcome. Ooh, there's a peach cobbler in here too. Yes, they have an entire chapter that is just small sized desserts. Chocolate fudge cake for 2 people. There's a brownie recipe in here, I believe. Cranberry dumplings. So they have dessert recipes in that chapter, but then they have them sort of sprinkled throughout the book in other chapters as well. Brunch eggs ranchero. They look cool and I bet they taste good. That sounds like a breakfast I would enjoy. We have another little section. These sweets are a snap. So more desserts. They really mixed it up in this book as far as chapters go. Pink velvet sherbet. Oh yes. That one makes 3 servings. Some of these do make 3 servings. Peanut raisin logs. Here we go. So this chapter, you do make more than just 2 servings because it's meals to double up and divide. So things that you can make ahead of time and then like maybe have some for later, put some in the freezer, which I like. We've got a lot of different meatball recipes, oven meatballs, meatball stroganoff, spaghetti and meatballs galore. Easy on the budget main dishes. I just finished a budget recipes video recently, and it was a Better Homes and Gardens video, but it was from the 1940s, not the 1960s. But budget recipes, I'm telling you, like they never go out of style. Everybody is always looking for budget recipes. Pennywise egg and cheese dishes. I did mention in my budget recipes video that a lot of times the egg and cheese chapter of a cookbook can have some very economical choices. No matter, even if eggs are a little more expensive, they're still usually less expensive than meat. And then in the back, we have some just helpful sections about cooking for 2 in general. The ABCs of cooking for 2. How to grocery shop for just 2 people. I've become pretty good at that, to be honest. There are things that we like to stock up on and sort of store, but I've gotten good at knowing what those things are, how they work for us. You know, am I going to eat all of whatever I just purchased, or is it going to go to waste? We don't want it to go to waste. Equipped to cook for 2, so like small saucepans and cooking vessels, casserole dishes, that kind of thing. Let's talk about the recipes I made today, and I definitely have some updates for you. So I decided to make an entire menu today. I like doing that every once in a while. Sometimes the videos, like the cooking portion, can be like a little bit more, I don't know if chaotic is the word. It's a mix of things. I do try to like show you the order in which I'm doing things rather than showing you each individual dish like fully through the process. So I started by making marinated green beans. I needed a side dish for my pizza burgers. I chose the pizza burgers first. I wanted to sort of like center that as the main dish of my menu. And I was like, I just need something to go with this. A vegetable, a potato, a salad. What do I do here? These marinated green beans caught my eye because I was like, okay, sour cream and Italian dressing. Never 2 things that I've like really thought about putting together, but they worked very well. I think I would use that combination as a dressing in like other dishes and other salads. If I could, you know, think about what I want to do. A pasta salad, would that work in a pasta salad? Or maybe even like some kind of coleslaw, like a cabbage slaw or a broccoli slaw perhaps. It was just an interesting combo, an easy one to put together too. As far as the green beans go, I really liked this dish. I didn't know if I would. I was like, it's worth a shot. I'm not, you know, I'm not like afraid of it, but am I even gonna like it? I can't imagine what this would be like with canned green beans. Canned green beans to me are a little bit softer, they're saltier. I feel like me going with like frozen and especially the French style green beans was kind of the way to go here. You know, I haven't tried it the original way. Frozen green beans to me have a little bit more like of a firm texture, you know? And the fact that the French green beans are cut in that way, they're almost like shredded. It kind of lent itself well to being a salad. And it says vegetable and salad all in one. That's the description of this recipe. The tomatoes were very good in this. They really like supported the tanginess of the Italian dressing. Your dressing is going to vary depending on which type of bottled Italian dressing you go with. You're supposed to serve it in lettuce cups. I didn't do that. The lettuce cup part for me is more about like presentation than anything else. The main dish, the main event on my menu was pizza burger for 2. I'm just gonna refresh your memory on what it was supposed to look like. You know, I'm not gonna get as gorgeous as this. They had some real food stylists. That's not me. I just did my best. Also, it's, you know, I used mozzarella cheese as directed in the recipe. Doesn't it look like American cheese? I sure think it does. It's got an orange tone to it, kind of, but that also could be some of the color from like the liquid, like the ketchup-y burger seeping into the cheese. That didn't sound too good, did it? Okay, so this is where I have updates for you. I cooked this meal yesterday, actually. It says you could use hamburger buns that had been toasted and you spread the meat mixture on those buns and then you broil it. You know, that was not the easiest thing to do. It worked, it ended up working, but I think if I did it that way again, I would do it on like a very firm piece of toast, like maybe, and like a really wide, like artisan kind of piece of toast, or like a French loaf or something like that. The way that I did it on the burger buns, I ended up having to broil it for longer to make sure that it was a safe temperature for me to eat, to cook everything through. And I think if I had had a bigger piece of bread or like a bigger bun or something, I could have spread that meat mixture a little bit thinner, and it may have cooked in the allotted amount of time, like, or closer to the amount of time in the recipe. So I said, okay, well, I want to try this as a patty because I feel like it could work, or it should be a patty. So I did that today. For lunch. And I really loved the flavor of this. I almost liked the flavor of this more than I did yesterday. The thing about this recipe is that there's a lot of like ketchup, there's a lot of like liquid in the meat. There's not really anywhere for it to go. So like when you're making meatloaf, a lot of times you've got like breadcrumbs or oats or something in there. This doesn't really have that. It has Parmesan cheese. So when I make burgers, like when I just make like straight up burgers that I'm gonna grill for dinner, I don't put a lot of stuff in them. We like to form the patties with just the meat, and then we like to season the outsides with just like seasoned salt, pepper, and maybe like a little Tony Chachere's or something. I'm not one to put stuff like in the meat. And I found that putting that much liquid, putting that much ketchup in here made the mixture very, very loose. So I did what I could. I formed it into a patty, the remaining meat mixture, and then I cooked it in some olive oil in just like a skillet. You know, I wanted to make sure that it kind of formed a crust so that I could flip it over and get it brown on the other side. It was touch and go. I managed to do it, but it just felt a little bit unstable. Like, you know, like a meatloaf mixture more than like a burger mixture. So I think, you know, again, if I would try this again, I really like the flavor. So I kind of want to like figure out the best way to do this. If I tried to do it again, I think I would go with like just a wider, bigger piece of bread and spread that meat mixture on there thinner and then broil it, you know? It did kind of make the bread part a little bit soggier, even though I toasted the bread before I did this. Mostly because like your liquid is from the meat is going to be like seeping into that bread. So I know there's like a best way to do this. I just haven't quite figured out what it is yet, but I did love the flavors in this. And then finally for dessert, I made peanut butter parfaits. The recipe itself was more like a sauce that you make that you could use, you know, you could use it as a dessert sauce or an ice cream topping. You don't necessarily have to layer things into parfaits. This was very delicious. It was very sweet. It didn't have enough peanut butter flavor though. I was really looking at it again, and there's a cup of brown sugar. So I cut the recipe in half when I actually made it because it makes more servings than I really wanted. So the full recipe has a cup of brown sugar in it and only a quarter cup of peanut butter. Peanut butter parfaits, they lead with the peanut butter. To me, it was more of a caramel flavored sauce with a hint of peanut butter. I don't know if this is too much, but I would almost double that amount just because the flavor, while it was delicious, it tasted very good. I will use the rest of the sauce. If you want it to be a peanut butter parfait, like I think it just needs more of that flavor. I do kind of like making my own like ice cream sauces and ice cream toppings. I think that's fun. And it was delicious with the vanilla ice cream. We just keep the Costco vanilla ice cream in our freezer pretty much at all times. It's just like a good staple to have for like if you're making a dessert and like you need ice cream with it. This was super easy to make. I had everything. On hand. So also a good thing to make if you just like need a sweet treat, you want to whip something up. As far as making it a parfait, the sauce was like not quite thick enough to do that unless you like really flattened the ice cream. Yeah, it can't like hold those layers. It was a little bit too thin. So I expected it to be a little bit thicker than it was. But frankly, if you like peanut butter desserts, I think you're gonna love this one, but I would say add another big spoonful of peanut butter to it. So that was my look at Better Homes and Gardens cooking for two. Love this bold cover, by the way, this like red kind of cover. I think it's very noticeable. If you would like me to do more small batch recipes, more menus for two, please let me know in the comments down below. Do you love cookbooks and recipes from the 1960s? I have an entire playlist and I'll link it in the description down below. I'd like to say a special thank you to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join us over there, I'll have a link in the description so that you can do that. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I post videos about food, vintage cookbooks, and retro recipes every week. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.